John, I know that the president is credited with being sometimes awfully lucky. Rainbows appear sometimes when he speaks, but I understand there was an incident today where he killed a fly out of midair during your interview. Describe it for us. What happened?
Well, David, this reminded me of that moment during the campaign when he took a three-point shot at a military base and it swished.
It never fails. Great weather, rainbows, incredible speeches, and three-point basket, a fly, and he nails it. Unbelievable.
The signature characteristic of our... Sorry, I'm going to start over. Hey, get out of here.
That's the most persistent fly I've ever seen. Nice.
Now, where were we?
All right, you get the picture. Here's the president killing a fly with the microcephalics in our media slavishly worshiping him. This is while North Korea threatens nuclear war. This is while Iran is killing protesters. This is while our currency is melting down and being devalued. The microcephalics at CNBC, MSNBC, and NBC. By the way, they are the worst, and there's a reason for it. I don't think you know what went on, but it was reported about a month ago or 6 weeks ago before the story was buried that the owner, the parent company of NBC, which is General Electric, was fundamentally bought off by Obama. Apparently, the CEO of General Electric, Immelt, did a deal through the Obama administration where General Electric gets, it was reported, $1 trillion in these sort of soft energy projects around the world. And, of course, there's no quid pro quo. We know that. But we think there's a quid pro quo, particularly if you put microcephalics in charge of the media entities, and they then laud the president for even swatting a fly. Now, this ties directly in with my story the other day, that it is the neo-Marxist media that explains our neo-Marxist president and how he got away with it. I was pleased to see this morning that Don Feder, a columnist that I've read his stuff for years, and I've always loved Don's work. I had no idea he listens to my show. He wrote an article about me that's laudatory, and so I'm going to summarize it. He said, on his Monday evening talk show, Michael Savage, one of America's most popular hosts, articulated an important truth. Barack Obama is a creation of a leftist media, to which he would add, especially the New York Times, to which he would add. Savage was commenting on a June 15th Gallup poll which showed conservatives are now the single largest ideological group in the country. According to Gallup, 5 months into the Obama administration, which the Times insists reflects the will of the American people, 40% of Americans call themselves conservatives, 35% moderates, and only 21% call themselves liberal. The radio personality whose national audience exceeds 8 million then asked the rhetorical question, if a plurality of Americans are conservative, why is there a neo-Marxist in the White House who's successfully implementing a socialist agenda? The answer, said Savage, is because we have a, quote, neo-Marxist media. He then says, this isn't name-calling, but an accurate assessment of what might be called a partnership in crime. Barack Obama and the mainstream media. Ask yourself this. How did a man with almost no experience in national office go from being a junior senator to president of the United States in less than 4 years, easily the most meteoric rise in political history? How did a man whose friends include Bill Ayers and Jeremiah A. Wright Jr., an unrepentant ex-terrorist and a raving racist, manage to brush off scandal that would have sunk any other candidate? In a nation where conservatives are the largest political group, why does a president who's moving to socialize large sectors of the U.S. economy, including the auto industry, banking, and healthcare, have an overall approval rating of 60%? The answer, as Savage correctly and courageously pointed out, is a media that colluded with his presidential campaign and now has become an adjunct of the White House press office. Since the New York Times sets the agenda for the rest of the neo-Marxist media, America's so-called newspaper of record is the chief culprit here. Until conservatives acknowledge the fact that the NYT and company are at war with basic American values and begin fighting back, a nation with a conservative plurality will continue on a course charted by a neo-Marxist president. Thank you, Don Feder. You got it exactly right. Thanks for listening. Now, I don't know how many other people in the media listen to this show. I assume many of them do. And that is because they know my ideas are important. And I believe that we are at a point, they used to call it a tipping point. Before that, it was called a turning point. Whatever you want to call it, we're at a point that once we pass this point, it will be a point of no return. The neo-Marxist administration of Barack Obama is a naked and open Marxist administration. Everything he does is right out of the playbook of a Marxist presidency. It doesn't matter how many microcephalics say otherwise. It doesn't matter to me if every microcephalic in the media calls me names. It doesn't matter to me if every microcephalic at NBC, the puppets owned by Immelt and the Obama administration, ridicule me or don't mention me. What matters is the truth. What's going to happen to our currency? Do you know what I'm doing now? I'm tipping double everywhere I go. I joke with the waiters. I went to a car wash, so I gave the guy $10. I said to him, don't worry, in a year it'll be worth $5 what I'm giving you. Last night I gave it... No, wherever I go, I give him a tip. I said, don't worry, you should spend it tomorrow because next year it'll be worth half of what I'm giving you. You know, spend your paper money, folks, because at the rate Obama is printing money and at the rate that China is bailing out of our T-bills and at the rate other countries are bailing out of our currency because of this mad spending, I am telling you I'm frightened about the future of America's currency. Something is afoot here, and it's not very good. What would you like to talk about? Oh, there's so many things that we can talk about while we still can before the books are burned. Before the books are burned, I think we should talk about books. The Last Babylonian Empire. You interested in that? Darius the First? I'm not. Egypt, Babylon, and Assyria, Samaria. How about you want to go all the way back to the beginnings of cultivation? Primitive thought? Monkeys, apes, and submen, or you want to go back to the age of mammals? Or would you like to go back to the first birds and the first mammals? Or should we go back further to the age of reptiles? Or should we go back to the age of the coal swamps? It depends upon where you'd like to begin. We can begin here on the Savage Nation. In other words, before there was a world as we know it, there was the firmament. There was a world in space and a world in time. Then they became the beginnings of life. And to the evolutionist, you had the fishes, then the coal swamps, then the reptiles, the birds and the mammals, the age of the mammals, the monkeys and the apes and the submen, and the Neanderthaler and the Rhodesian man. The first true men, primitive thought, the beginning of cultivation, primitive Neolithic civilization, early Egyptian writing, primitive nomadic peoples, and you go on and on and on, and here we come to America, where the country has actually devolved several hundred years to the level of almost the caveman, where text messaging has made them subliterate to the point that I don't even know where on the scale of human evolution this society now sits. With 30 million illegal aliens who do not speak the language or write the language, and approximately 30 million idiots who sit on a text messaging machine of some kind or another, using no punctuation, no past, no future, no pluperfect. I do not know if we are even in the 14th century of human evolution anymore in America, which is why a man such as this fraud from Chicago can get away with dismantling America. Most of these fools don't even know what America is. If you have 30 million illegal aliens who have come here and don't even speak the language, how can they know what America was to worry about what America is becoming right in front of their eyes? The very hellhole that they ran away from is emerging right in front of their eyes because of the neo-Marxist administration that used them to get elected. They don't even know that. So I sit here and watching the world go by, trying to do my best.